Palaces for the world's most celebrated drivers. And congratulations to you, Odell, for your second straight victory.
Thank you.
And welcome to the story of the Bahama 500, with some insight on the event from the champion, Odell Lewis. The story begins on the drawing board. Odell, from the drawing board to the finished product, the driver is pretty well responsible for his own project.
Yes, a fella has to follow his own boat and help build it up and make sure that it's put together properly.
A 20-foot minimum, 40-foot maximum. Will the boats ever grow in size to get the angry sea at a level?
Yes, and I think also to accommodate the bigger engine we have today.
The engines are stock and available to the public. And just how do you match up the engine and the hull for the necessary performance in the rough water?
Of course, you use the most horsepower with your heavier boats so that they will take care of the rough and the calm seas.
Is there any chance that the first engine you put in doesn't perform to your liking and you might make several changes before you're happy?
Oh, yes. You can change the units, the engines, and props. The whole works.
How much change did you make in winning the second year over your first championship in the 500?
Oh, I changed engines and stern drive. I used the 482 cubic inches in the number 3 stern drive.
Long before the actual race, there are endless hours of testing. The proper balance is a must, I should imagine, as far as position of where you put the engine.
Right, and the fuel. You have to balance the whole boat out, make sure that it's capable of running in high seas and without the bow going up and jumping out of the water too much.
And Odell, why is weight such a factor?
Well, the more weight you put in, it's just harder to shove. It's just a known fact. The more weight you can keep out, the easier it is to carry your fuel.
Lake X in Florida is a famous testing ground for man and his boat. And let's do some testing now, Odell Lewis. And just what do you look for in these many test runs that you make?
Well, we try to make sure that we've got all the bugs out of the engines before we ever start to race them. It pays off a lot better than taking something that's not proven out on the course.
Do you try to prevent too many hours on an engine in testing it for a race?
We'll take one engine or so before the race and put a lot of hours on it and see how it holds up. But the engines we run, we don't run them too awfully long.
And it looks like it's pretty good training for the driver to get in condition for the grueling sea, too.
And knows a little something about the engine that he's running.
And here's one of your chief competition.
Yeah, Bill Sherroy. He's a great driver.
Propellers. Expert special care in the selection is important, I should imagine.
Oh, yes, you have to select the right propeller to get the right RPM, and it's real hard, but we have some good men.
And the skill of the craftsman is a very important part of the teamwork that goes into the Mercury racing team, isn't it?
Right.
Well, just what do you look for now when you know the ocean is going to be very pounding on your boat? What kind of props do you look for to set up the pair perfectly?
I would run a thicker propeller for rough water and whatnot in longer races. So you won't be as apt to break, or they won't be as apt to break.
Do certain props measure up better with certain engines?
Oh yes, you have your different pitches, and they cut them so that you won't have near the slip. It takes one man half a day or so to prop out a boat properly.
Then this fella is a pretty important part of the team.
Oh, absolutely.
The explorer and his compass have set out and found many amazing places in the world, but out in the ocean it's a must for winning long races. Why do you depend most on your compass, and when?
Oh, well, I depend from the start to the finish, and you've got to believe your compass at all times, and of course you'll have certain things to run to, certain spots or land marks, but it always pays to believe your compass.
It's back to the classroom for all drivers, no matter how many times they've been over the course. For speed alone does not win the big ones. It takes the skill of an expert navigator. And what are you trying to navigate away from as well as stay on the course?
Coral reefs, mainly, and sandbars. You couldn't believe it.
Testing in the United States is about over, and so is the classroom work, where you spend hours and hours going over the course until you memorize it almost by heart. Now, the skill of teamwork continues as the race boats are transported to the site of the world's famous event. A slow, careful ride to Lucaya or a very fast ride around the islands. And I guess there are experts in the packing department, too.
Oh, yes. We have a group of people that go down and make sure that the boats are loaded properly and they don't damage them in any way.
Odell Lewis, the quality of the boats and engines improve every year.
Absolutely.
Arriving at Lucaya, which will be the home arena for the start of the race, and you get ready for the final preparation at race site. But still, you must be careful in transporting these valuable machines. How many months, Odell Lewis, does it take to prepare for one big one like the 500?
Oh, well, you'd work 6 or 8 weeks getting your boats ready and transported over there.
Well, just a couple days before the race, and you mean they actually, at this late date, change a complete engine? Why?
Yeah, well, because of the competition, we took out a 427 and put in a 482. But it doesn't take too long. We've got a good group.
And will this mean that this new engine will have to be tested all over again?
Oh, yes, sir, and we'll have to do the prop work and go through the whole thing.
Time now for the final test. And just what are some of the things, Odell, that could go wrong during the last-minute test at the site of the race?
Oh, you could have an oil leak or a water leak, minor stuff.
The things you call minor could turn out to be major, and the minor things could cause you to lose a major event.
Yeah, it's usually the minor things that put the majority of the boats out. For some reason or other, little things that they've overlooked.
Lucaya and the glimmering mysteries of her people at once become the leisurely scene of cosmopolitan life. But the pace becomes exciting as engines sound telling that it's race time in the Bahama Islands. A gathering for a shop talk about the upcoming event, but the bow gathering is for a purpose. And Odell, this fella is not searching for lobster.
No, that's Bill Saroy. He's checking his units and propellers to make sure that they're all okay before the race, the day before the race.
Odell, you mean there's enough time for a complete engine tune-up this close to the race?
Oh, yeah, if necessary.
Lots of precaution to ensure the working operation of the engine, and two, Odell, some strict rules are set for safety gear for the boat and driver.
Right, you have to have a lot of safety gear, which all the drivers appreciate at some time or other.
What could happen on the course?
Well, say you have a fire or something, we have a fire extinguisher system, or if you're stuck out there at night, the Coast Guard can't find you, you have the flares and the radar reflectors. You have everything you need, really. There, he's got a distress flag.
Well, this boat meets the approval, and now it's up to him and his co-pilot to make it go and run right. Fuel is very important, and does every boat use the same kind of fuel?
Well, I don't know. We use a high-test, high-octane aviation fuel. What the other competitors use, I don't know. We have a regular fueling group in our team. They take real good care of us. They get us in and out of the pits.
So again, it's Mercury teamwork.
Right.
Well, it's about time for the time trial. And the engines are sounding pretty good. But there'll be time for just a few more minor checks, and you try not to run the engines any more than possible, do you?
No, I don't run my engines any more than necessary. Run them enough to make sure that there's no bugs in them, and then take it easy for race day.
Out for the time trials, and I imagine you'd like to have a day like this to start the race.
Well, a lot of the people would. With my boat, I'd rather see it a little choppy myself.
Time trials to determine the lineup for the start, and how much emphasis Odell Lewis has put on winning of this event.
Well, I wouldn't worry about winning it. I would try to stay up front so as you would, not to get behind all the small boats and have to pass them again.
The afternoon before the Bahama 500, a front moves in and rain starts. This ends any chance for the final minute checkups, but by now, all of the boats seem ready to fly, and all concerned watch and listen for weather reports. The quiet of night is only the anticipation of things to come. A few hours from now, the excitement of race day will more than depress all of the silence. Odell, can you sleep the night before?
Oh, not too well. You sit trying to think of anything that might have gone wrong or that you forgot to tighten or something like that. You don't rest too well.
June 9th, race day, and Odell Lewis and fellow drivers get off to an early start, which is what hour?
Well, we got up at 4:30, and I'm sure the rest of the group did also.
Ahead, 530 nautical miles, and the weather is anything but good for the start. But the word is go, and that's what it will be. What would it take to postpone the race, Odell?
Well, with Red Christ, I don't know. The last year it was real rough. It didn't seem to stop him at all. So I don't know just what it would take.
The start is quite a sight. And Odell, what is the strategy now, the very first of the race when you get the green flag?
Well, I would just hold a position till it sort of thinned out and you got out into the open sea, and then I would hold that position or whatever position I chose.
Is this one of the more dangerous parts of the race, the start?
Yes, because you go up and you turn around, there's 5 miles up, and you turn around and you meet the slower boats, and it's real bad. You'd hate to run over these smaller boats, or anybody, a large boat. You can see there, though, the chopped up water where they have to zig and zag.
Suddenly things change, and you get out of the heavy traffic, and things start to thin out so much. But when you start thinning out in the traffic, do you just set a pace as planned?
Well, if you can. I always lag behind in third or fourth spot and let somebody else set the pace and tried to stay with them or in striking distance.
The hot wire room is where owners and fans can keep up with the happenings as the course chart keeps a sharp eye on the progress. Drivers are after the huge bundle of cash and points for the World Driving Championship. From the start, it's off to Bimini, then Gun K, entering the flats where Dick Gent and former heavyweight champion Rocky Marciano in boat 99 are the leaders. What are the flats, Odell?
That's the Bahama bank. It's the shallow water. It's only about 15 or 20 foot deep, and it has a different...
Can you make great speed here?
Well, usually, yes. A lot calmer there on the flats than it is in the deeper water. Of course, it can get choppy, too.
The former heavyweight champ, Rocky Marciano, was a living testimony about what kind of condition you've got to be in to stay in this race.
Yeah. There's Bill going across the flat.
And making pretty good time, too.
Right, he's really hauling it.
Early indications show that it's going to be a very close race.
Right. Dick Gent, he took off like a bandit, and it was hard to open her up and run with him. We kind of laid back. And then he missed going into Nassau, and that helped us out a little.
you break down, you're your own mechanic, and it's not a very good place not to have a service place.
Yes, the engine's hot, and you can get seasick down there pretty easy, too, when you're standing on your head in that hot engine box.
Gun K to Sylvia Light. And how about this stretch of the course?
Let's see, from Gun K to Sylvia, that's only about 15 miles. It's not a bad run, really. It's out on the flats.
The halfway point is Nassau, and this is the place you refuel.
That's the halfway mark after you round it, the island.
Dick Gent is the leader, but he's run into some trouble with an engine.
Right, he had a engine problem, so we took over the lead. We were running right behind him at the time he had the engine problem. Then I pulled into the lead and got into the gas docks first and got out ahead of the rest of the boys.
At this point, it meant that the first one out of the pit will be the new leader.
Right, well, you can save 4 or 5 minutes there at the gas dock.
Odell Lewis and Bill Saroy have a running battle with time in the refueling area. How much time did you actually save?
Oh, I believe we saved 4 or 5 minutes there. We've got a good bunch. They get you in and out.
There's not much time for lunch, though, is there?
No, you can't eat. You're too busy looking over your engines to see if anything's come loose in the first 250 miles.
Off for the second half of the race, and it's going to be quite a battle. As the fans wait for you at Governor's Harbor, you and Bill Saroy are having quite a duel. And John Stenbeck in the Mercury outboard powered boat is making his move in the outboard class.
Yeah, well, Bill pushed me right along from there. Well, he pushed from the start to the finish, but here we were changing places quite often.
And he's losing no time here.
No, he was trying to make up what he lost at the gas docks.
You're heading home, and the lead boats are actually seconds apart.
Yeah, like I say, Bill really drove a real hard race. He stayed right with us. the whole way.
And the checkered flag for the second straight year to Odell Lewis and crew in a record time of 11 hours. 1 hour and 36 minutes better than your first race and your championship a year ago. Odell, that's really moving in the angry ocean.
Thank you. We, of course, had bigger engines, you know, where we could run a little bit faster across the flats and whatnot. So we picked up some.
Odell Lewis, winner of the 1968 Bahama 500, with Bill Soroy and crew finishing just 5 seconds behind Odell, and Peter Ritzmaster in third. John Steinbeck wins the outboard division, and for Mercury, the winning combination is a very rewarding one for all of the members of the racing team.
Right.
What kind of weather conditions did you have?
A lot of rain and rough water.
Well, you had pretty good competition from a friend of yours, and you were exchanging places right up to the last minute, weren't you?
Yes, Bill.
Tell me about the race. You started out in rain. Sort of take me around the course a little bit.
Well, we rained all the way around the course.
What kind of seas did you have?
It was pretty choppy to Great Isaac, and when we got to going across the flats, it was real nice. Then it got bumpy across the stream.
Any particular problems?
None whatsoever. We put a quart of oil in at Nassau, and that was it.
Yeah, the boat looked very good.
We ran in some rainstorms. We couldn't hardly see the bow of the boat. We ran for something like 50 minutes where we didn't know where the heck we were. I mean, we knew where we were at, basically, by compass, but...
Well, we followed you from the beginning to the end, and it looked like you had a little black cloud following you all the way. It rained almost every inch of the way until you got here.